Today's lesson will discuss the effects of redundant prepuce on premature ejaculation, as well as the hazards of redundant prepuce and solutions to share with you. To what extent are there actually a lot of redundant prepuce people? It's a good idea to have at least one redundant prepuce for every 3 people. Let's start with a definition of redundant prepuce. The foreskin is the penis when there is no erection. The glans cannot be exposed or is wrapped by the foreskin more than 2/3 of the time. And the foreskin is divided into pseudo-redundant prepuce and true redundant prepuce. The term pseudo-redundant prepuce refers to the fact that the glans cannot be fully exposed when it is normally weak and that the foreskin must be turned up by hand so that the glans and urethral opening can be fully exposed when the penis is fully erect. True foreskin means that when the penis is erect, the glans cannot be completely exposed. Most foreskin male compatriots are pseudo-prepuce. The foreskin has certain heredity related to genetic genes, but it is not a genetic disease, and the child will definitely be circumcised because the father is circumcised. According to the Male Redundant Prepuce Survey report, statistics learned in 1132 men that the proportion of circumcised people is 49.69%, indicating that redundant prepuce is a common problem among adult men. So, let us discuss the dangers of redundant prepuce on the body. The redundant prepuce is not only harmful to the health of the man himself, but it is also very harmful to the sexual partner. The first point is it affects the healthy development of the penis in male adolescent development. Because the foreskin tightly wraps the penis, it does not come out of the foreskin, so the outside world is off limits where it should be stimulated. The development of the penis is bound, which may lead to the underdevelopment of the mature penis. The glans crown diameter is too small, and the penis is unable to come out of the foreskin. The second point is that the breeding foreskin scale causes genitourinary inflammation because the abundant sebaceous glands in the foreskin produce a lot of secretions. The foreskin is too long so that the secretions cannot be discharged in time, accumulated into thick enough to host a lot of germs. Invasion of the urethra will not only cause urinary tract infections, but it may also cause redundant prepuce, glanditis, urethritis. It increases the chances of genital warts, herpes, and other sexual diseases infection. The third point is that it jeopardizes kidney function and causes cancer. The inflammation causes narrowing of the urethra or front urethra, affecting urine metabolism and the upward movement of germs in the foreskin. It also infects the kidneys and causes long-term kidney damage. According to studies, the foreskin scale is a carcinogenic substance that contributes to penile cancer in men. More than 85% of penile cancer patients, according to the survey, are redundant prepuce. The fourth harm is that it jeopardizes women's reproductive health. The impact of redundant prepuce on women is primarily associated with female gynecological diseases, and prepuce is also a major cause of female cervical cancer. Redundant prepuce can cause female genital diseases such as trichomonas vaginitis and mycotic vaginitis, as well as cervical infection and cervical cancer. The fifth point causes men to ejaculate prematurely, which has a negative impact on the quality of their sexual life. The nerve sensation becomes very sensitive because the foreskin overprotects the glans, and when the glans mucosa is exposed during erection, it is especially sensitive to external stimulation. Some people even touch the glans slightly to get an electric shock. When the sexual organs are in close contact with friction during sexual intercourse, an excessively strong sexual stimulation signal is transmitted to the brain center, transforming into a high degree of sexual excitement and thus a touch of PE. So, let's discuss a comprehensive solution to the method of redundant prepuce. We now know that the evil redundant prepuce will cause a great deal of harm. What can be a complete solution? The only solution is circumcision, which involves cutting off the long foreskin. However, when most people hear about surgery under the legs, they are more concerned about their penis being cut badly. After all, it is the only one. In fact, circumcision is a very small surgery, with the entire procedure taking about 15 minutes. Since we're talking about circumcision, let's be more thorough and go over some of the most pressing concerns about circumcision. The first question is whether there is a risk of a bad cut or a risk of cutting. This is correct, any surgery carries some risk. However, Because circumcision is a minor outpatient surgery, safety concerns should be minimized. The second question is whether or not to circumcise. If the circumcision is such that the foreskin cannot be turned up after erection, the foreskin must be cut. If there is regular glans inflammation, it should be cut because it is conducive to penis cleanliness and hygiene. It is also conducive to the couple's health, and more conducive to improving the quality of sex life. The third question is, at what age should it be cut? There are no special restrictions. Teenage surgery is not too early, and 40 or 50 years old is not too late. We can cut whenever we want. The fourth question is, does it hurt? The first step is to obtain a local anesthetic. You will feel it, but it is not painful and is completely tolerable. The most important thing to remember is that it will be painful when the anesthesia is applied, but there will be no sensation afterwards. The fifth question is, which circumcision method is preferable? The traditional scissor method, or knife cutting, and the now popular Korean circumcision are the two main methods of circumcision used in hospitals. As long as it can be cut off, it is good. The key is the doctor's circumcision skill. This is skilled work. The more the doctor cuts, the more skilled and safer. The sixth question is, what should I look out for after the cut? The first thing you should do is avoid viewing pornographic images or videos, as well as masturbating, thinking about sex, and having erections. Another thing to remember is to follow the doctor's instructions, maintain local hygiene, and change the medicine on a regular basis. The seventh question is, how long does it take to recover completely from surgery? The wound usually heals in 2 weeks, but sexual life can take up to 1 to 2 months to return to normal. This is determined by how each person's wound heals and how quickly the swelling disappears. Another thing to consider is that there are still temporary solutions if you do not want to be circumcised. If you can usually turn up the foreskin to reveal the glands and the erection is not painful or uncomfortable, you should make it a habit to turn up the foreskin to reveal the glands at regular intervals so that the glands can become accustomed to the frictional contact with the underwear and the oversensitive glands can gradually become normal. If the foreskin mouth is too narrow, you must consider circumcision of the foreskin. However, you can usually turn out the foreskin to reveal the glands. If the erection is too narrow due to the foreskin mouth and it causes pain and discomfort, or even the emergence of foreskin swelling, you must consider circumcision of the foreskin. Please make your own decision about whether or not you want to be circumcised. We are not responsible. There are many people who are redundant prepuce, but this does not always result in PE, just as circumcision does not always result in PE. This is why, as we have discussed in previous courses, the root cause of PE is oversensitivity to sexual stimulation, of which penile sensitivity is only one of them. We can only solve them one at a time to eventually overcome PE and learn to control ejaculation. So, that's all for today. Thank you for your time and attention, and we'll see you in the next lesson.